coaching program, and exclusive assessments, her mission is to get to the crux of your issues quickly and accurately, and then guide you to achieve sustained and higher levels of clarity, joy, energy, connection, influence, and overall performance in every area of your life. To learn more or to contact Lauren, go to laurenjono.com.
Imagine taking your business to the masses using proven marketing techniques. What if you could take what you love and turn it into a six-figure business in the next 2 years? Or a $500,000 business in the next 3 to 4 years? Michele Scism went from struggling to build her coaching practice to doing $500,000 in her business in less than 4 years when she uncovered the secrets to converting audiences to clients. In Cash In on Your Expertise, Michele shares the exact strategy she used to build her business so quickly. Get your free copy today at www.cashinonyourexpertise.com.
Back. We're back. I think we're back. Can you guys hear me? I keep hearing beeps over here. With our second guest of the show, so I guess that'll tell me for sure if it's really working over here. So let's see here. We are... who are we having at our second guest of the show? My computer just went blank here. Wow, this is crazy.
Laura. I don't know if
Hi,
you can hear
Laura.
me,
I can hear you now. Okay, I don't know I must be having all kind of crazy electronic issues over here all of a sudden. So, Laura Wright, right?
You are correct.
Thank goodness. The memory clicked in all of a sudden, and now the computer's coming back up, so we're okay. We're going to make it. I know we're talking about sales, Laura. That part I remembered very well, that we were going to talk about sales today. So, so welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. I was listening to your previous guest, and I was nodding along, and this is exciting. It's wonderful, right up my alley, so I'm excited for our conversation, too.
Perfect. So let me do this, Laura. I'm going to introduce you to everyone, tell them a little bit, just read your bio. But then I really want to talk to you about, your backstory and what got you to this point where you are today. So let's start with that. And guys, with over 18 plus years of selling experience and $39 plus million in sales under her belt, Laura Wright understands that while you must sell to be in business, you don't have to sell out or feel slimy while you do it. And I love that, Laura. Her mission is to support entrepreneurs and service-based professionals to master the art of selling in a way that is 100% aligned to you, so you can build a business that fuels your life. And I want to know what got you here. I love that you said in there that you don't have to sell out or feel slimy. There's so much going on for entrepreneurs around this whole conversation of sales. And it truly is the do or die part of business. And so, first, welcome to the show. And second, why don't you go ahead and tell us what brought you to this point of having your own business?
Yeah, that's such a beautiful question. I always wonder if I should say the long story or the short story. But I'll give it to you a little more briefly. I think like most entrepreneurs out there, I didn't fit into corporate, and I found myself going from one job to the next, thinking if I changed my job, I would fit in, and I didn't. So back in 2001, actually right after September 11th, I was kind of given a gift of complete life upheaval. I say a gift now. And I was able to leave my job for about 3 months and kind of figure out what I wanted to do next. In the midst of that, I decided to start a real estate investment firm. And so I went back to school to finish my degree for fun, and I ran a real estate investment company for quite a few years. And then, I don't know if it affected anybody else who's listening on the line, but 2008, a big bubble burst in our economy around here, and my real estate investment firm kind of went askew, and I kind of started realizing what I loved and what I wanted to do didn't match with what I was doing. So I was in a space where I kind of needed to re-envision myself. So I went out and hired a coach. And as I'm working with this coach, I realized, oh my goodness, this is what I meant to do. This is what I've been doing forever. And of course, when got accredited, I learned a lot of systems and ways of being. And I think the magic really kicked in a few years back, probably about in 2013, when I finally matched all the pieces of what I'd done in the past and figured out a way to align them to actually have packages that I could sell and ways to support other clients. And everything just kind of took off from there. So that's my long story short of how I got into being an entrepreneur. And I think one of the other things I always like to say is really important is, for a while I was coaching within another person's business, and it was starting to break my heart how many times I would hear just amazing heart-centered entrepreneurs, people who really had a huge desire to heal and care for the world, and how broke they were. I mean, just like absolutely like couldn't scrape two pennies together. And I kind of made it my mission to really find a way to help people lift themselves up and figure out how to actually have a great selling conversation so that they can then receive really, really well and do that healing they're meant to do. So that's, I guess, turned into my long story long.
Well, that's cool. It's not, I like to know. I want to know the backstory. And so does everybody else. It's part of the relationship building like we were talking about on the last segment of the call. And so in your bio, it said that you had been in sales. I guess maybe that was what you were doing in corporate America?
Yeah, actually, I know, and some days I sound maybe like I'm 12, but I'm much further down the path than that. But yeah, no, I used to do corporate events. And so I was selling to like companies like Staples and ExxonMobil and really large companies and really large contracts and lots of high-end stuff. And when I left that, I went into real estate, so my numbers were big. And I think that's actually been something that's been really helpful for me being a coach is I never started selling like the $10 ebook because I was used to selling like $450,000 homes. So
right.
It's been a good money mindset thing to have that segue for myself as well.
Yeah, and actually, I think that it is a rarity for the majority of entrepreneurs because most entrepreneurs didn't necessarily have that sales background. A lot of times when I'm talking to entrepreneurs and we're talking about what they love and maybe they were doing certain things at their previous company, and I will say to them, so tell me, did you have to go out and get the clients or was it handed to you? Did it come in through the system, right? And so yeah, it's a unique situation that you had all of that experience. So I can totally see why you went into this direction of sales coaching. So
and it's funny.
Very cool.
I think everyone loves sales. I didn't realize that everyone doesn't love to sell. I didn't realize everyone doesn't like to reach out to strangers and introduce themselves. So it really informed how I built my coaching business to help other people actually find the way they like to do it. It's not the Laura way. I help them really identify what matches for them because it's not a fit for everybody. It's fit for me to call 600 people out of the blue, but not everybody else.
Yeah, so excellent. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about what they can do to figure out what works for them.
Yeah.
So what are maybe some options or
That's a really, really great question. So I think the biggest thing is to not fall into the trap of actually trying to read a script and follow a system really, really strictly. And by that I mean, I do have a formula. I'll definitely walk you through it on this call. I love to help people have kind of a framework for how to have a sales conversation, but I find that what was tripping up most of my clients when they came to me is they were trying to basically, when you go to a friend's house, and I guess this is mostly for women, but we'll go over to our friend's house and like, oh, I need a sweater, and you put it on, and it's either too big or too small because it's not yours. I think that's the same for a lot of sales training and sales techniques, that somebody else is getting great results, so you think it's the way you should do it, and then you struggle through it. And so what I like to do is to have people really explain to me how they like to have a selling conversation go. And the funny part is, most people don't like to have selling conversations, whether they're on this side of the table or that side of the table. So what I help them to really do is energetically get very, very comfortable with what they're selling. So I think if I could give like a little hint or a bit of advice is the best thing you can do for yourself is be the most relaxed, comfortable, and confident person on the call, and you will set the other person at ease as well as yourself, and then you can really have an easy, enjoyable sales conversation. When you are trying really hard to do the right thing or to say the right thing in a script, or you're worried about what you're going to say, or you're caught up in how much should I offer, or what's the right amount, or I did this in the right order, when you get really caught in that, it blocks the energy of the sale. And so anytime you can just actually relax, you can kind of, I don't want to say mess things up and still get the sale, but you can, because when you're at that comfortable space, that really conveys, and people buy from people that they feel really comfortable with.
Right. And they don't even know that the other side of that coin is that they're not even sure why they're not willing to buy, in those moments where you're not confident and you're not relaxed and comfortable. And I have to say that it is one of the things I noticed. There was a definite shift in my business year 2, but year 3, we knocked it out of the park. And that was the year I really can see that when I was on stage for my 3-day, I was comfortable. I was confident. I knew my stuff, right? And so I'm in total agreement with you here. So for those who aren't, how are they, not that they're not in agreement, but they're not comfortable, they're not relaxed, how are they going to get there?
So here is the coolest part. So, an artist will tell you that like the first 1,000 of anything they do is kind of maybe goes in the junk pile, and 1,001 they become the master. So the coolest part about becoming comfortable and mastering selling is actually the more you do it, the better you get at it. Now, I will say there's lots of nuance and doing the right thing repeatedly, but there's this magic that happens that I love to get my clients into, is this massive action creates a tidal wave forward of all this glorious positiveness and then getting clients. So one of the best ways to get yourself over the how do I get comfortable hurdle is actually to have a lot of sales calls. And it feels kind of counterintuitive, because if you are uncomfortable having the sales calls, then you're like, well, I don't want to do it. It doesn't feel good. I don't like it. You kind of shy away from it. But the more you can actually lean into it, you can just really become a master. And I have a little trick I like to tell all my clients is, most people suggest you call hot leads first. And I actually recommend people do the opposite, and they call their coldest leads first when they are uncomfortable in the selling conversation. Because just think about it, like, especially if you're offering something new or you're not sure what you're doing, you can call up Joe, who he's probably not your ideal client and you don't care what he says, then you can totally just fumble through the call. And then you can go talk to Denise and Sarah, and by the time you get to the person you really, really want to sell, who's a hot lead, you've already done enough times that you really feel relaxed while you do it.
Very good. I like that. That's a great idea. I don't know if you were with us at the very beginning of the show, and we went through 3 reasons that I think people don't ask for the sale, and this is actually number 2. It's that whole idea of you don't do it enough, and I love that you pointed out it's that 1,001 times, right? It's that one time over. Now you're there, and you're having that confidence and building that. So very cool. Well, so you are full of really cool information. Why don't you give us some? If you were to give them your best tip, or maybe the thing they should do next, or what is it? What would you want to share with them?
Yeah, so one of my things that I think I hear on every single one of my selling conversations when I ask what's happening for the person I'm talking with, one of the biggest struggles they say is that there's basically like separation in their sales call. So like they're really good at the beginning part where they connect and they ask people about their struggles or what they want. They get really good at that. And then this like energy shift and like practical shift, like they stumble as soon as they start talking about the money or their offer. So I have a couple little tools that I love to use to help people like not have that transition. It can just be nice and smooth, and the same way you talk at the beginning about all your fun stuff is the same way you're talking while you talk about the money. So I'll describe, there's 2 that I love, and I hope everyone uses them. So the first one is, most people, the very first time they actually bring up money in a selling conversation is at the end when they're trying to close someone. And so one of the things I love to do and I love to teach is to ask people to bring up money early in a conversation. And there's a few really